twilight of the 1890s, Colonel Lewis A. Watrous gazed upon a mountain valley shrouded in mist, cradling the Wallenpaupack River with its cascading falls veiled in the whispers of the past. The spirits of the Lenape Indians, guardians of the land before the 1800s, lingered in the shadows as European settlers carved their mark upon the earth, building towns to serve the growing industries of coal, lumber, fur, and stone. From his perch, Colonel Watrous beheld Wilsonville, a spectral echo of its former bustling self. Named after Judge James Wilson, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, this valley, once filled with industrial mills, now lay desolate, its heartbeat fading with the depletion of nature's resources. Yet, amidst this decline, the colonel glimpsed the future. A great lake, a reservoir of power, coursing through the veins of transmission lines, providing power for his dream of electric trains throughout the Northeast. Thus, the Paupack Power Company emerged, purchasing swaths of land throughout the river valley, and by 1913, they had ensnared 15,000 acres. But like the industrial mills of the past, the dream of electric trains dissolved in a haze of reality, and the 15,000 acres of land and the project was sold to Pennsylvania Power and Light. PP&L started the work for what was the largest and most ambitious power generation projects of its time. The dam, a monument to human endeavor, rose like a specter in 1924, shrouded in challenges. Cemeteries displaced, communities submerged as the river of progress flowed, swallowing the past in its watery embrace. Whispers echoing beneath the waves from the unmarked graves of the Lenape, guardians of a forgotten time. The hydroelectric dam project was engineered to create the largest lake in Pennsylvania, covering 5,700 acres with a length of 13 miles and 52 miles of shoreline. The dam that was to create this Great Lake was designed to be 1,280 feet wide and 70 feet high. Water would be channeled into a 14-foot diameter wooden flume that would run 3.5 miles, with a total drop of over 800 feet. The water would enter a surge tank that would regulate the water flowing through the flume at a rate of 928,000 gallons per minute. The surge tank would keep the flume from blowing out due to the extreme water pressure and regulate the flow. The flowing water would run 2 generators that would produce 44 megawatts of power. In order to get construction materials to the generator site, a rail line had to be constructed from the dam site. A 1,000-foot dike needed to be built at Tafton, and over 16 miles of state, county, and township roads and utility poles had to be rerouted. A new bridge also had to be constructed. This new bridge would connect Pike and Wayne counties, since the existing bridge in Wilsonville would be underwater. This endeavor would require a massive amount of labor and resources, an upward estimate of over 3,000 workers, hundreds of tons of concrete, lumber, and tons of steel. Housing, as well as dining and recreation halls, would also need to be constructed in support of this massive workforce. The PPL plan also included the construction of a radio station in Tafton to provide communication between the construction site and the PPL offices in New York City and Allentown. The construction started June 17, 1924. This was dangerous work, especially with the number of men and mechanical equipment involved. Bulldozers, steam shovels, trucks, and teams of horses. The added distraction of hundreds of visitors showing up at the construction site to watch the activity made this somewhat of a precarious situation. Due to the project's sheer size, it was expected that there would be injuries and some loss of life. From the depths of the Lackawaxen River to the heights of the dam, tragedies unfolded. These stories weave a tapestry of sorrow, accidents, mysterious deaths, each shadowed by whispers from beyond. It wasn't long before the darkness descended on Wilsonville. On July 18, 1924, Joseph Warner from nearby Holly was crushed beneath the wheels of fate after falling from a truck he was riding in and somehow landed beneath the truck, getting run over by the back tires of the vehicle. This freak accident was regarded by many superstitious employees to be the work of the restless spirits who did not want the land to be flooded. Later that summer, Walter Vertinsky of Hazleton was poisoned by spirits unseen. After work one summer night, in 1924, Walter joined several of his fellow workers who drove to a local home where they drank elderberry wine. Suddenly he collapsed and fell out of his chair. His friends, assuming that he was overcome with liquor, took him back to the company garage in Wilsonville. They put him in the bed of the truck and covered him with blankets. Later that evening, a friend working the night shift went to check on him and found him stone cold dead. Authorities were called to investigate. Even though the circumstances were unusual, the coroner ruled the cause of death was strangulation by acute alcoholism. But according to the Scranton Times article, the wine was poisonous. Shortly after this incident, Murdo D. McDonough was swallowed by the Lackawaxen River's watery embrace at the Kimball's generating site. He dove into the water and hit a large rock. He was so badly injured that he couldn't swim and drowned before help could reach him. Others at the scene said it looked like McDonald was pushed into the water, although there was no one near him at the time of the incident. As the dam progressed, so did the death toll. 30-year-old Gideon Buchanan lost his life after being crushed by a derrick bucket. The operator of the derrick involved in the accident quit, unable to deal with the man's death. Frank Kuhlman suddenly died of cardiac asthma at the company barracks in Wilsonville. And as for 25-year-old Barney Rafferty, found dead on the banks of the Lackawaxen River below Kimball's, a cause of death could not be determined. More lives were lost that summer. Ulysses Brooks, responsible for managing a group of workmen constructing a road near the dam, set charges to blast rock out of the way. When the dynamite went off, he was not far enough away from the explosion and was badly hurt by the blast. He sadly passed away a few hours later from his gruesome injuries. Another victim, Rudolf Nissen, a civil engineer working on the generation station, was killed by a flying stone after he left the protective dugout, believing that the blast was finished. Witnesses in the bunker thought he heard someone say, "All clear," before he left the bunker. Other losses of life that year included 3 men killed when the truck carrying stone tipped over and rolled over them. A 4th worker was killed after being hit by the bucket of a steam shovel. Over the years, there have been countless stories of people who lost their lives on the Wallenpaupack River. 3 men drowned near Wilsonville when the ice they were crossing gave way. From the time of the earliest settlers, the waters of the Wallenpaupack River have claimed many souls. The river yielded to the dam's embrace, its waters a mirror of the past, reflecting the submerged echoes of the lost lives and forgotten dreams. Lake Wallenpaupack, a reservoir of souls, whispers secrets of a bygone era, where the spectral town of Wilsonville lies submerged, its streets haunted by the ghost of Wallenpaupack.
Are you looking to buy or sell a property in the Northern Poconos? Then your first and only call should be to Davis R. Chant Realtors.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Collins, President of Davis R. Chant Realtors.
And I'm Abby Pittenger-Claus, Vice President of Chant Realtors. And we're here at one of our lakefront listings on Lake Wallenpaupack.
Since 1964, Davis R. Chant Realtors has grown from one office in Milford to 5 offices throughout Pike and Wayne County. With more than 90 agents working 7 days a week, we have happily helped 50,000 families buy and sell their homes.
The Northern Poconos is a wonderful place to live. We have great schools and so many activities throughout every single season. If you're looking to buy a home, vacation home, or investment property, we'd be happy to help you every step of the way.
If you're looking to sell your home, give us at Davis R. Chant Realtors a call. Our agents put together a thoughtful but aggressive marketing plan to make sure that your home is put in front of your prospective buyer's eyes quickly.
For more information on the current real estate market, stop in at one of our 5 offices or visit our website at chantre.com.
Details matter, especially in your home. Do you love the bones or sentimental story behind an old piece of furniture, but can't see how it could possibly fit into your modern home? At Flipped, their mission is to reuse, reimagine, and create something beautiful and functional. Custom furniture design and refinishing, kitchen and bath cabinet painting, and a retail store featuring vintage decor, floral, gifts, hand-poured candles, and gourmet provisions. Flipped Furniture and Home wants to be part of your home because details matter.
In honor of Women's History Month, we decided to take a look at the role of women throughout history in the Pocono Mountains. And we came across a news story that made national headlines in 1925. The headline read, "A town that is run by women." This town in the Pocono Mountains was referred to as an animalist Eden, as almost every business was run by women. While this is not so unusual today, but in the 1920s, this was unheard of in the United States. What town was it, you might ask? Why, Lackawaxen, Pennsylvania, of course. Prominent businesses included the post office, banks, barbershops, real estate offices, butcher shop, movie emporium, stores, jitney, and paper hanging company, all run by women. This was big news back in 1925 and created quite a stir. Every Lackawaxen Township business was run by widows, wives, and daughters. The Lackawaxen postmaster in 1925 was Louise Courtwright, who married William Courtwright, a school teacher and a former postmaster. He died in 1915 at age 38 of tuberculosis, and Louise was appointed by the president to fill her husband's position as postmaster, based on the recommendation of Pennsylvania Senator Penrose and Governor Pinchot. She was also known throughout the country for meeting the quotas for selling Third Liberty loans 44 times, and Lackawaxen was number 1 in the nation for towns its size. Third Liberty loans were created by the federal government to help cover the cost of World War I. Although Lackawaxen did not have a mayor, Louise Courtwright was the closest thing to it in the community. Zane Grey and his wife, who had a house in town, were some of her closest friends. She successfully led a movement to build a new school in Lackawaxen Township. Back in 1925, 8 trains a day stopped at the station in the town of Lackawaxen, bringing heavy canvas bags of mail that the ladies had to unload and sort. The town post office was the central hub for all mail routes in the region. As one of the only post offices run by women at the time, it was known for the best and fastest customer service in any post office in the northeastern United States. Louise Courtwright also owned the Lackawaxen General Store, During the early 1900s, the general store in town was where men gathered and shared news. Mrs. Courtwright would stay busy in the store while the men gossiped, and if they stayed too late, she would simply shut off the lights in the store, leave the men in the dark, and go home to her apartment above the store. Louise was an avid reader, and her apartment was well stocked with books and magazines and served as a library for the community. The owner of all the local mail delivery route contracts was Frida Dellert, who personally delivered mail as well. You could set your clock by Frida because she was always on time. The general store and the apartment were in the same building, and the entire operation of the post office, general store, Erie Hotel, and restaurant was completely run by 4 women. The only exception was in winter. The men would shovel the path through the snow from the train station to the hotel. And when Lackawaxen became the town, famous for being run by women, the men figured the women could shovel their own snow, which they did. The local butcher was Adeline Kuhn, whose family still lives in Lackawaxen to this day. When her husband was fighting a forest fire in a dangerous isolated area, she made the dangerous trip alone to make sure he was okay and to bring him food. Lackawaxen's local milkman, or should we say milkwoman or milkmaid, was Anna Bankers, who regularly walked 5 to 6 miles in a day carrying milk to serve her customers. Lackawaxen's local cigar shop was operated by Margaret Smith, who served the mainly male clientele drinks and cigars. Although described as demure and feminine, she had no problem maintaining order in the establishment, where she sold everything from harnesses to hairpins. In the 1900s, paper hanging was considered a man's job. Installing wallpaper required ladders, brushes, and tools that were thought to be unwieldy for women. But 60-year-old grandmother Jane Campbell was the only paper hanger in the entire township, and in 1925 wallpapered the entire 200-room Delaware House Hotel. This was just one of the many Pocono Mountain hotels and resorts that she was responsible for hanging paper in over the course of her interior design career. Another history-making woman in town was Anna Gregory. Anna established a motion picture emporium that doubled as a dance hall and ran her own electric generation plant for the stores and the movie theater. Her daughter Helen ran the local taxi and hacking service. Guests coming to town would wait hours until she was free to take them on a tour of all the local sites because she was known as the safest driver in the Pocono Mountains. Mrs. Adele Shannon was Lackawaxen's most famous female politician, running Northeast Pennsylvania, while Gifford Pinchot campaigned for governor. So, why was Lackawaxen the town run by women? The 2 reasons that were noted at the time for the astonishing women's movement in Lackawaxen were that the town was a railroad community, and the local men preferred more strenuous outdoor occupations and considered standing behind a counter to be too genteel. The second reason is that a local daughter from one of the prominent families in Lackawaxen went to New York several years earlier and accomplished great things, serving as an inspiration to the women of Lackawaxen. After the news stories hit the national papers, letters from all over the country flooded the post office, containing everything from marriage proposals to business deals. Although the railroad station and most of the businesses are gone, not much else has changed in Lackawaxen since 1925. The post office is still in the same building as it was in 1925, and mail delivery, the bank, restaurant, hotel, and bed and breakfasts, and many other businesses in town are still operated, owned, or started by women. So what words of advice did the ladies of Lackawaxen in 1925 have for today's businesswomen? Louise Courtwright was quoted as saying, "The key to running a successful business is to keep your tears inside and smiles outside." Timeless advice for anyone operating a business. So for Women's History Month, Wally Life salutes the enterprising and entrepreneurial women of Lackawaxen, who in 1925 were decades ahead of their time. The Sterling Business and Technology Park is currently divided into 23 lots ranging in size from 3 to 30 acres. Each lot in the park is KOZ certified for companies that qualify. The Sterling Business and Technology Park is perfectly located just off Exit 17 on Interstate 84 in northeastern Pennsylvania, just under 2 hours from New York City. If you would like to explore locating your business at the Sterling Business and Technology Park, visit sterlingbusinesspark.com.
For the largest selection of first-quality remnant carpeting for every room in your home, choose Mike's Walk-In Carpet, the only remnant stocking dealer in Wayne County with high-quality carpet purchased directly from the manufacturer. With over 40 years' experience, you'll get professional service every time. Don't settle for lesser quality carpeting from the big box stores. Choose the best, remnants or special order, from Mike's Walk-In Carpet on Route 590, Hawley.
Find out what all the buzz is about. Voted one of the best small towns in the U.S., Honesdale, Pennsylvania is an historically significant town with a vibrant and charming downtown. Spend the day strolling down Main Street and explore our many shops, restaurants, cafes, art galleries, markets, and more. In the evening, enjoy our many dining options, from farm to table to casual eateries to bars and breweries. Honesdale is also widely renowned for its charm. Steeped in history, Honesdale is known as the birthplace of the American Railroad and is still home to an extensive rail schedule on the Stourbridge Line Rail. And for the adventurous, outdoors recreation flourishes all year long. Hike up Irving Cliff, enjoy the Lackawaxen River that runs through town, or simply spend time at our beautiful parks. There's always something going on in Honesdale. For more information about Honesdale's events, check out visithonesdalepa.com. There's so much to do and see in charming Honesdale, PA.
From prehistory to early settlement, the environment of North America was forever altered. By the turn of the 20th century, northeastern Pennsylvania was a changed place, and the pace of change quickened. Soon the land was stripped of many commercially useful natural resources. Most of it was denuded of trees. In fact, we have more forest cover here today than we did 150 years ago. And not only trees. So rare had deer become in the early 1900s, newspapers reported on hunters taking large bucks. Enter William Connell, an entrepreneur from Hazleton who rose from miner to coal magnate to U.S. congressman. He also ran one of the biggest button factories in the United States. Connell is credited with building the first weekender in the Poconos here at Lackawack. He hauled in southern yellow pine by the trainload to build a lodge at Lackawack in 1903. This cottage had 8 bedrooms, servants' quarters, piped gas lighting, a walk-in icebox, and an outdoor sleeping porch for a son prescribed fresh air to treat tuberculosis. Importantly, this grand lodge had all the modern conveniences, including running water and flush toilets. But the Connells wanted to drink lake water from Lackawack, so they piped wastewater off the watershed, protecting Lackawack from pollution. This would later prove crucial to the importance of Lackawack to science. Connell also wanted deer on the property, but there were virtually none in the Poconos, so he hauled in white-tailed deer by the trainload from Virginia. You can still see traces of the fences and feeders used to build the herd. Eventually these fences broke down and the deer spread. This herd, and a similar one at nearby Blooming Grove Club, are the ancestors of the enormous deer population we see in eastern Pennsylvania today. Connell called Scranton home. At the time, Scranton was a major city in America. Electric City had electric lighting and streetcars as early as the 1880s. Anthracite coal was shipped by rail to Honesdale, and then the Delaware and Hudson Canal to power New York City. It also powered diversified local industries. Scranton was a rich and thriving city and home to another entrepreneur in the Lackawaxen story, Colonel Lewis A. Watrous, my great-great-grandfather. Colonel Watrous taught himself law and eventually became a leader in the railway, electricity, banking, newspaper, and water industries, not to mention state senator and lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. But it was his interest in water that led him to Lackawaxen. In the early 1900s, he devised a plan to dam the Wallenpaupack River to create a hydroelectric scheme to power rail lines. By 1913, the Paupack Power Company had acquired the 15,000 acres that would be flooded by Lake Wallenpaupack, including the Connell estate at Lackawaxen. The electric rail line never went ahead. Watrous and his partners sold the Wallenpaupack project to the Pennsylvania Power and Light Company. But Colonel Watrous decided to hold on to Lackawaxen as a family retreat. While PP&L finished the Wallenpaupack project, the Watrous family began to enjoy its new getaway. But when the Great Depression arrived, the family felt the pinch like everyone else. They spent less time here. They tried to sell Lackawaxen, but found no buyers. The Depression dragged on, and the Watrous family home in Scranton, known as Penny Bryn, burned to the ground in March 1937. The colonel died later that year. World War II broke out, and the family was distracted by world events. Lackawaxen, the lodge, and outbuildings fell into disrepair. The roads washed, and the forest encroached on the buildings. During the war, my father, Arthur Watrous, enlisted in the Navy because he loved the water. For this, he was sent to Oklahoma to learn Japanese. He'd never been further from the sea. Through those years, he thought about Lackawaxen. He would go back there when the war was over. In 1946, Rayburn Watrous died. My father and grandmother decided it was time to move to Lackawaxen permanently.
This special place would become their legacy. I'm Chad Reed Watrous, and this is the history of Lackawaxen.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and many other social media platforms. We are always looking for new and unusual story ideas, interesting people, and unique events. Send your ideas for the show to troy@wallylife.com. If you're a business looking to reach the northeastern Pennsylvania market using the most powerful media platform available, contact Emily Grillo at Bold Go Media, eGorillo@boldgomedia.com, or call 570-253-1616. Tune in to Wally Life every Monday at 9 p.m. on Blue Ridge Communications Channel 13 for the latest in life around Lake Wallenpaupack.